What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm Obed, and you're listening to Brawler. And today we are going to be doing a recap of the Professor, starting from season 4, going all the way to the current season, season X. Even though that season's not finished right now, we're just gonna do a little deep dive and really, get into it. So the first episode was, or the first 3 episodes are Annihilation. Basically, we're just gonna be talking about it, what's going on in these episodes, and then we're going to be giving like a rating, and how well that episode delivered, whether it was the storyline or just how well it was put together. So personally, I do not like season 4 at all. Season 4 felt rushed, and as you guys know, the end of season 3 was technically the start of season 4, and they're put in together. So it's one giant season that is over the course of like 8 months. It's really weird. Moving over to Annihilation itself. So, let's see here. Annihilation was, needless to say, not a good storyline. It lacked any episode or character growth whatsoever. It introduced Pharrell into the group, even though he wasn't going to be a professor in the first place. He was still a part of it. It tried to make this thing about Obed losing his mind and going crazy. And overall, the start was not good. Episode 2. First of all, let's end episode 1 off. Episode 1, I would give it a 3. 3 out of 10. Not good. Episode 2 continues that same thing, and it's like another fire drill or something. It's really hard to tell like what's going on. And let's see. Basically, it didn't feel like there's anything monumental going on. And it showed some new professors that could be potentials. But once again, it was just bad. I'd give it a 3. Annihilation Part 3. This one was really weird. This one was a really weird episode. And it focused more on Hannon and Kal-El and Obed. It didn't feel really like an Annihilation episode. It had Casey in there. It was good, but like lacked any storyline whatsoever. 2 out of 10. What's past is prologue. This episode, I think this episode is actually not that bad. So it is essentially Obed going to the past and remembering everything that, what's it called? Where he just revisits their history of just the professors in general. Overall, it was a pretty good episode. Considering it wasn't even the 100th episode, it was just, thrown in there right after Annihilation. And it gave you a really good look on where the Professors has gone over, from 2019 to 2021. And yeah. It even added some stuff with Pharrell, which I really do like, just adding to a storyline more. So I'd give this a 5 out of 10. The next episode was episode 5, season 4, otherwise entitled The End of the Professors. This episode was more of a talking episode than professor episode, is what it felt like. And it was trying to introduce the super professors. So it started with Keegan and David, and then it started with Hannah and Liam. But essentially it was a way to combine the older friend group with the newer friend group and have this all super professors type thing. And Brawler could have done it another way. I will say that. So it wasn't bad. It was just talking for the entire time. Like, it had minimal professor stuff, and then the reveal at the end with the super professors, which was okay. I would give this episode a 4 out of 10. The next episode was also another talking episode. This one was Welcome to 2022. This one was minimum professor stuff. It was just an explaining of what was going on. I think it added a little bit of I don't know, like a hint to like what would be coming in the next couple of oh sorry, what would be coming within the next couple of months. But it really didn't add anything. It was just saying that like the group entered a new year and just it felt like a fresh timeline. But it wasn't a bad episode. It just lacked any professors whatsoever. 2 out of 10. So this is the next episode. Oh, sorry, my bad. The next episode was episode 7. Times have changed. This episode was I don't know how to describe it. It got professors in more, and I guess it did feel like times had changed, but like I don't know how to describe it. It just lacked anything special within it. And I think that after this, it was like, it felt like the graphic novels really started to kick into gear, especially after this episode. So I could see that, Welcome to 2022 was like a starting episode for it. But this episode just, it felt forced and it felt filler-ish. It wasn't really that much professor-centric. So I would give this episode a 4 out of 10. It wasn't bad. It just felt filler-ish. The next episode was the 2022 split. 25 minutes. This is episode 8, I believe. And it was just a giant yap sesh. It started to kick in for I believe it's called the Total Annihilation storyline, which technically they said was episodes 1 through 11, but it didn't really feel like that. It felt like it started here, the storyline. And we haven't been talking about the super professors at all, even though it was a reveal a couple episodes ago. So this episode was just an explaining episode. It wasn't anything special, wasn't anything good. 2 out of 10. This next episode, Corruption, episode 9. So this one, I would not say that it's a bad episode, but it's not also a good episode. I do like the effects, and it tells a story of, it tells a story about the 2022 split in the events leading into Total Annihilation. It's basically like something about Obed getting his file corrupted, and he's just mentally unwell. And he goes to an ally to get the 3 memory cards that he needs. So this is when the storyline is like really starting, I guess. And I believe he goes to Chance Cam to help him out. This one also lacked professor stuff. It was just Hannon and Caleb, I believe. So not anything special. I would give this a 5 out of 10. The next episode is Deletion, season 4, episode 10. And this one was it was quite the crossover. It was Obed and Chance Cam getting together for their second crossover, I believe, talking about the memory cards, and they go and hunt, and they get in a battle with the villain Corrupto in a tent showdown. Chance sacrifices himself to get the memory cards for Obed to help him out. And I believe that it worked. Yeah, this one was that was something. And it added, I guess, actual character development. So I will give it a 5 out of 10. Felt like Chance Cam really stole the show. And I don't know. It was a dumb episode. It was funny, I guess. Not anything bad, not anything good. The next episode, Season 4, Episode 11, Total Annihilation. I believe that this episode was supposed to be something different, but it had to get changed last minute. So this episode wasn't exactly what it was supposed to be. And it did have Professor-ish stuff, but it felt filler, seeing as it's the last episode of, the graphic novel. And it is Obed, fixing his memories, I guess. And, just seeing all of that, but it wasn't. This was a bad ending to the storyline. Next episode, episode 12, Secret Surprise. So this was also filler. I think these next 3 episodes are, before we get into anything special. And this one was actually a wholesome episode. It was Obed basically giving his friend Hannon a new iPhone for his birthday. And I wouldn't say that this was a bad episode. This episode just, it was really short. And, you had Kello in the episode. And it just felt really wholesome for the whole thing. Yeah, I'd give this episode a 6 out of 10. Especially considering it was a filler episode. The next episode was UT Tyler Trinity. And this one was a filler episode. This is episode 13 of the season. No professors in this episode whatsoever. Which I get, it's a filler, but no professors whatsoever. Technically, it had Michael, which was the original professor, along with Avery back in Professor Season 0, which doesn't even count as being a part of the show. And it's just, it's Micah, Sawyer, and Michael, and they go on a college field trip. That's all it is, nothing special. And it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It just wasn't, it didn't feel like an episode. It felt out of place. But, they added it, so that's all you can say. I would give this a 3 out of 10. Next episode, episode 14 of season 4, Spring Fast. So this is an explaining video, but it was done so well that it shouldn't have worked, but it did. So this one was explaining everything that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks, months, and it really starts the storyline for the next arc, which was titled Inverse. And it was just Obed basically redesigning the professors mid-season, and dropping the super professors thing, talking about Professor X. It was like no other. It was just talking about like relived and stuff like that. So this one shouldn't have been a professor episode. It should have been an event on its own, but it did. And it really leveled up the professors in a way. I'll give this a 6 out of 10. So this one was the next episode was Professor Season 4, episode 15, otherwise entitled Brand New Day. And this episode was quite something. So for starters, it actually brings professors back into the episode. And it dives deeper into Pharrell's character. Even though, it brings the professors back, but it does still lack professors, especially considering other seasons. And it's basically Obed dealing with it's kind of like a time loop, but it's the new day. Like, how did I describe this? When he goes to bed, then he wakes up and it's the same day. And it's starting to deal with inverse and stuff like that, and all of that. So I will give that episode a 6 out of 10. Not anything like mind-boggling or special like that. But yeah, it was good. The next episode was The Stroke of Midnight, episode 16 of the season. Obed is reliving the same day over and over again. And this episode really was professor centric. I I was actually shocked because it actually has the professors in the professor show, delves deeper into Pharrell's character, and you might think that he becomes a professor in the later season, but I think he does for a little bit and then doesn't. Um, this one was, it felt like Brand New Day in a way, but in its own thing. It was really, really not bad. So I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. The next episode was The Professors to Inverse, episode 17 of season 4. And this one was good. It was really professor centric. And let me pull this up real quick. Liam comes back to the group, and then tensions are rising because of impulsive behaviors and stuff like that from Hannon. It's just the professors in the inverse universe, and it was. I think this is the longest episode of the season. Oh no, it wasn't. Third longest. It was long, which I do enjoy, and it felt like it really tied the last 2 episodes together. And it felt more of a finale than, I don't know how to describe it, than like an actual, I don't know. This graphic novel was really weird. But the next episode was, oh wait, sorry. I will give that episode a 6 out of 10. It was good. It could have been better. The next episode was Timeless, episode 18 of season 4. And what an episode. It is Obed going back into 2019, and basically he's hearing things, seeing things that are from his past. And in the end, when he's like hearing David and reliving all the stuff that happened in Professor season 1, it felt like episode 4 was past his prologue, but in a different way. And when Obed finally comes to term with what happened back in season 1 with the crossover stuff, then it's just it all ties together, and this was overall a good episode. 24 minutes. It was the second longest episode, and it premiered on May 2nd, which, if you don't know, that's a very special date. I think this was a pretty good episode. I give this a 8 out of 10. I really like it. Now we're moving over to our more professor centric episodes, which I really do like, and they did these professor centric episodes early on, and it felt like they stopped, and then they did it back in season X, stuff like that, and we'll get to that later. But the next episode was episode 19 of season 4, Meliatsuk. This episode was a Kal-El centric episode, and it's just basically going through time with Kal-El, and Hannah's in the episode. They're talking, Timeless gets mentioned. It was just an overall, I would say it's a good Kal-El episode. It introduced Kal-El being Meliatsuk in a very interesting way. It introduced Britain, I believe, even though I think Britain was in season 3-ish, but Britain's really here, and he'll be added later on. But this one was a good episode. I give it an 8 out of 10. The next episode, episode 20 of season 4, Impulsive Part 1. This was a good episode. This was a Hannon-centric episode, and Hannon is very impulsive when it comes to anything. I do think the cinematography could have been a little bit better, but it just follows the character, being impulsive, things happening, and diving deeper into this whole impulsive thing. He also gets David, which, you always love to see. He was in earlier seasons, left, even though he's still technically in the show. And, it was just overall great to see these two being dynamic again, with everything that's just been going on with Inverse and stuff. This was a good episode. I will give this a 9 out of 10. And it was almost really good. I do really enjoy it. It's just Hannah and Obed exploring and they get an old friend. They get stuck in the inverse. But yeah. And then episode 21 was Impulsive Part 2. And this was a Keegan-centric episode. It still kind of follows Hannon just a little bit, but it has Hannon and Keegan both being impulsive and stuff like that. It kind of follows Cal just a tiny bit. But then afterwards, like halfway through the episode, it's Keegan getting David this time instead of Hannon getting David this time. And these two obviously are a dynamic duo, always together. Some stuff happens with some crazy guy and stuff like that. But them seeing David again and David being in these two episodes have been really great. And this is also a 9 out of 10. It also introduces Jackson into the Brawliverse, sorry, not the Professor Universe. But it sets up for the next episode, which I do like, which is the penultimate episode. So I'd give that episode a 9 out of 10. Episode 22 was If Then Else. This one was also a good episode. So this one wasn't particularly a Professor-centric episode, but it was Professor-centric. So it followed Ben, Liam, and Caleb in their each individual ways. That's why the episode is so long. It starts with the Liam stuff, then it goes to Ben, and then it follows... I think Casey was in this episode too. Then it follows Caleb, and it's just all of them, like, all these things happening that are, technically at the same time. It's Caleb exploring a mysterious place. Liam and Hannon are set to find something interesting, and a surprise guest stops, only not to be the same as before. And it was just overall a good episode. I give this episode also a 9 out of 10, considering it's a penultimate episode. Now, the finale of the Professor Season 4 was Fulfillment, and this was teased in an earlier episode. I think it was Welcome to 2022. But this one did the full intro with, like, each professor. It's getting ready for Professor X, the next season. Like, it did everything so well, and it felt like it just had all the professors together. Like, it felt like a finale. And it says that the season wraps up with everyone all together. Hannah has to make a choice that can potentially bring the other professors with it. So I think Hannah was planning on departing the show, especially since he was going someplace else. But, we found out that was obviously a lie, and he was a bigger player, especially in season 5. But this episode was really well done. It felt like summer, felt like home, had David, had everyone actually. Like, it was just overall a good episode. And the thing is that although it didn't set up much for season 5, because it felt like the show was going to be canceled, even with the ending shot being Liam and stuff, you knew that there was more, and it just, it was overall a good episode. I would give this episode a 10 out of 10. It was not a bad episode at all. But yeah, this one, season 4 was not exactly the best season. And I think it did make up for it in the end, especially considering other seasons. But it tried its best, even though midway through, it redesigned itself, which was really weird. You never seen anything like that before, but it did it in a wonderful way, and it really rebooted the Professors in a way that it should have felt like it should have done earlier. Now moving on to Professor Season 5. This one was, episode 1 was Sunpack, and this one had Pharrell even titled in the credits. He was, I believe, supposed to be a professor, but other things happened. This one was also a really good episode to introduce Austin, especially him becoming a professor in the future, literally a couple of episodes later. All the professors together. It didn't feel professor-centric. It felt like Fulfillment. It did everything that it needed to do, while also not being too much, especially it being 17 minutes long. It's just all the characters together working so well. it felt like they were a group, and it felt like the first time that the professors were a group. And it set place in, I think, Obed's birthday party, and yeah, just overall a good episode. I would give this a 10 out of 10. The next episode was episode 2 of season 5, As Reunions Go. And it was following Sunpack. The group started to slip away, and Hannon and Obed get them together. They got everybody together. This episode was strange, to say the least. Considering it being a second episode, it claims that all the professors, are getting back together, and it was teasing a whole bunch of things, but nothing happened. I remember saying, like, 5 Minutes of Regretters, the Infinities 2, I think that's when they were doing Phase 2 and stuff like that. But this episode just, it didn't hit as much as it should have. So I give it a 3 out of 10. Not 3 out of 10, sorry, 7 out of 10. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying. What I wanted to say was episode 3 was Professors, was the originals of season 5. Good episode, great episode. It follows Keegan, David, and Hannon. David coming back. It's just the original professors together. The description says, Obed, Keegan, and David go on a mission to get Hannon. All is well until David makes a vital mistake that causes Keegan and the rest of the originals to be in danger. And meanwhile, Hannon's being himself, though David is wreaking havoc. It felt like the Infinities show, and it felt like impulsive. It was funny, goofy. Like, it did everything that it needed to do. This was overall a really good episode. I do like the dynamic of, all 3 of them. Even Obed being there too. So I do really enjoy this episode. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. This episode 4 was Limitless. This one was, I believe it took place during the same time as the originals. And this one followed Liam, Ben, Caleb, and Kal-El. And it had this group, doing their own thing. This one was also a fun episode. This starting the Limitless show, and this group. This group did feel a little bit weird, all together like this. However, it did work. But it wasn't to the funness of the originals. So for that, I am giving it I'm giving it a rating of a 8. The next episode 5 of season 5, Run Far Fast. This episode was good. It started I believe it was called Speed Wars graphic novel. So the other one was, I forgot the name of that one. I think it was just the Sunpack arc. This one is the Speed Wars arc. So this is taking place during cross country. The description says, the first cross country meet is here, and the professors have to tackle it head on. Kal-El levels up, prompting a speed war with Obed. This one's really good. I think this was the first one that added Austin in the credits and stuff. It introduced Sam, him being a future professor and stuff like that. And it was missing Hannon. I know he was in the back half. Not the back half, actually just like the last little bit. But it introduced characters like Sushi, like people that would be in later episodes. So I think it set up everything pretty well, especially for, the Speed Wars, for what's to come. I would give this episode a rating of a 8. The next episode, Who's Faster Now? Episode 6 of season 5. This episode says Obed faces off with Kal-El. Obed is shocked when Kal-El is significantly faster. Hannon comes back. He's a guest star, even though he's technically a professor. Hannon and Liam give Obed advice, but there's a catch. And then an epic battle begins between Cal and Obed, and Cal is pitted against the professors, or the running professor. So Ben, Casey, Liam, Austin, and Hannon. I believe during this time, Keegan, David, and Ryan had not departed from the show, but they were in these episodes during the Speed Wars time. So this one was, Um, just I guess Obed and Kellel fighting really over who's gonna be faster. Kellel wins, and the next episode really like kicks into high gear. So this one was a good episode. Bring Hannon back. Austin and Hannon have a dynamic. It's okay. 7 out of 10. The next episode, episode 7 of season 5, is Speed Wars. So this one was a weird episode. It says a war breaks out as Kellel and Obed try to make varsity before the Galveston meet. I believe the next episode after Speed Matters was supposed to be at the Galveston meet, but neither of them made it. So actually, no, Kellel made it. So if he had a separate, thing, it would have been something different. So it's Obed and Kellel basically fighting to make it to Galveston. And that's pretty much the whole episode. This episode was shorter. And I know it was supposed to be building up to something, but it didn't in the way that it did. I think Hannon comes back again. He's really just been guest starring in all these episodes. He's not really like a part of it. So this episode really didn't live up to the hype that it has been building up to. However, it was building up to something more with negative coming up. But yeah. I would give that a 6 out of 10. The next episode, episode 8, was Speed Matters. So this episode didn't really deal too much with the cross-country side of things, but it dealt with the Keegan, Ryan, and David side of things, and then the rest of the group. So everybody was separated, really. It showed off that group, and then it showed off the other side of the professors hanging out, doing stuff. And I think Casey was in this episode too, which he should have. He's been in the other episodes. Britton was in this episode again, so it's just adding more to his character. This episode was weird, and it lacked any character development. So for that, I will give it a 5 out of 10. Next episode, episode 9 of season 5, is Terminal Velocity. It says an injured Ben watches as Obed levels up, but Kellel does too. Liam gains a speed boost. This one was kind of a Ben-centric episode, seeing as he was injured, so it just followed Obed and Ben. There wasn't really too much to this one. It kind of gave the spotlight to side characters-ish. But, I mean, it was good for Ben's character development, so for that, I will give it some other stuff. I think it added Sam, and it got ready for Negative Force, which is coming up in a later episode. But everything is really just gearing up for, Negative, which is coming up soon. This episode was good. It wasn't also bad, and it teased Hannon, coming back, but he was really not in the episode that much. So for this, I will give this episode a 6 out of 10. The next episode was the Entis Project, episode 10 of the Brofessors. It says when the other David, not Professor David, threatens the varsity legacy by removing Kellel and Casey, they do whatever it takes to get it back. And that's exactly what it is. The cross-country David essentially takes their spot, and they are fighting to get it back. Sushi's in this episode, Hannon's in this episode, Sam's in this episode. This episode was good. It also talks with Austin. I think it teases Gavin for a little bit. And overall, this was a good episode. Liam with the sign and stuff, and Jaya helping out or whatever. This was it was a good episode. I would give this episode an 8 out of 10. It wasn't anything bad. It didn't drag. It was good. Episode 11, Phantoms. When Liam, Casey, and Austin are running, Kellel and Obed get shifted into a negative dimension where they are forced to watch the phantoms of Hannon, Liam, and Ben cause terror to their world. I do like the effects on this episode, how they're cheering on Sam and Austin. I think Obed and Kellel were. And they just get shifted into this negative dimension. And it's like the professors, but like in the past when they're wreaking havoc, and Obed and Cal can do nothing. I do like how it at the end it does get ready for negative. And this episode was just, it wasn't filler, but like it was good enough to get you ready for the mid-season finale. But yeah. I will give this episode a 7 out of 10. Next episode, episode 12 of season 5, Negative Part 1. This was also a good episode. Hannon thinking there's a mole. It says the professors are united, only turned to a darker counterpart by a negative force. Once again, it was just overall good with the Sam and Austin. Like, it's just getting ready for everything. And I do think that this episode was better than the actual mid-season finale, considering it is a two-parter. But it delves into Kal-El and Sam possibly becoming a duo in the future. Hannon's in the episode, and it gets ready for Negative Part 2. It does everything it needs to do. 8 out of 10. Now, Negative Part 2, Episode 13, the mid-season finale. This one was okay. It says the professors have one final showdown as they are nearing ascension to the race of the century, and that's exactly what it is. It's the professors together, and then they do the race. I think it has Aaron and Reagan coming back in this episode. So from previous episodes, they were side characters. I think they were in season 4. Starting the episode with Liam was funny. And it kind of lacked the professor aspect of the episode. So it was okay. Could have been better. And for that, I will give it a 6 out of 10. Episode 14, so a mid-season premiere, the 2022 recollection. The professors go through the past, present, and future before being overtaken by a negative force. This felt like a season 4 episode, but done in a season 5 way. And it's essentially Obed just reliving things. But like these things haven't been shown in the professors. It says their first, their best, and it was another thing. Some of these things, like I think it was their future too. And it just gets ready for the next graphic novel in a way. So yeah. This one was not a good episode, but not a bad episode. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. This episode, episode 15, the Professors 3 Negative Force. It was a weird episode. Starting the episode off with David having Hannon and Keegan and David being all together again. That was good. Excuse me. Liam in the episode, Hannah and Liam just like talking and stuff like that. Ben being in the episode. It was just overall a good episode. All the professors together, but a negative force has a different plan. It was just, not anything like bad. So 8 out of 10. Episode 16, Worlds Collide. This one says that Austin and Hannon puts Obed, Brendan, Britton, and Brayden's life on the line while wreaking havoc. Liam says his final goodbyes. So this one was Liam departing for the show for a little bit, even though he would come back, pretty sure, in like the penultimate and finale episode. This one was a good episode. All the stuff from Britton that we've learned over the past couple of episodes and seasons really kicks into gear. He's a fun character, and it feels like he's going to be a professor sooner than later. It's an Austin and Hannon episode, so it's good. Brendan being back. This episode diving deep into two things happening at the same time. Feeling like two worlds are colliding. This episode, even though it was so dark, it was just a darker episode. I do really enjoy it. I'm pretty sure it's a part of a graphic novel called The Dark Side. So it does exactly that. So I'm giving it a 8 out of 10. Episode 17, The Dark Side Part 1. After Emery, Hannon, Ryan, and Kellogg hang out, they decide to spice it up. Kellogg turns into a darker counterpart. Kellogg, starting the episode off with Keegan was good. Get to see that. But Kellogg basically turning into a darker force. And Hannon wreaking havoc and stuff like that was good. Emery being in this episode a lot was good. We've seen her in earlier episodes. So this is overall a good episode, and it gets you ready with the cliffhanger at the end with David and Hannon explaining everything that's going on. It gets you ready for, what's to come. So 7 out of 10. Episode 18, The Dark Side Part 2. When Liam and Austin are gone, Hannon creates a new team. The negative force leaves Kellogg and David scared. The negative force essentially goes into Hannon, and he tries creating this new team with Micah and David to go and do whatever they like to do. And things end up really badly, with the dark force and the negative force working hand in hand together. And it gets you to that part where they're talking to David, and doing that stuff. This was a good episode. 7 out of 10. Not much notes. Episode 19, Forces of the Universe. This one was preferably one of the best episodes of the season. It has all of the professors together, minus Liam. But it says, after Liam's departure and the victory from Worlds Collide, the professors celebrate with their Thanksgiving, but Hannon and the negative force work together on something spicy. So the negative force still is in Hannon, but it has Britton, Caleb, all these professors together, and it feels like they're a team again. It feels like Sunpack feels like the beginning episode, and even though Hannon is doing bad stuff and stuff like that, it feels like a wholesome episode. So this one is a 10 out of 10. Episode 20, Into the Inverse. This one was a Ben and Hannon centric episode. And it was I don't know how to describe this. Trying to do something that it couldn't do. So it says, while Keegan is doing his own thing, Hannon and Ben find something interesting. The snowpack being, and Caleb does something devious. So this episode barely has Caleb in it, I believe, even though he's in the thing. Keegan basically just off doing his own thing. It just shows him, and then it shows Ben and Hannon showing up later on. And it was, I think it was trying to set up for the quote-unquote snowpack, which would have been the opposite of the sunpack. But it didn't, so it was really weird. 6 out of 10. It wasn't too bad. And it also had Michael in it. So, him being back after not being there for, I think, season 4 with his own episode earlier. But yeah. The next episode 21, The Beginning of the Incursion. The originals are back with the help of some new friends. They take on the world. This one was really good. It was Hannon, David, and Keegan. The introduction of Gavin, even though he had been in earlier episodes, but he hadn't been really seen. Setting up for Gavin being a professor. It felt like the originals part 2 in a party fun way. Britton being in episode 2. It was doing so much setting up. And it was a crazy episode. I really do enjoy this episode, for the introduction of Gavin and stuff like that. So for that, it's 9 out of 10. Episode 22, the penultimate episode, The Black Flame Rises, Part 1. The professors get together one final time for Christmas before the end. And I do believe that they were in talks of this being the final episode, or not the final episode of the Professors, but the final season of the Professors, seeing as professors were leaving, Casey making his departure, Liam making his departure, Hannon maybe not sticking around. But it had characters like Gavin and Sam, together with the professors, really getting these two to be a part of the team. I know Austin wasn't really a part of these last couple of episodes, but he should be in the next episode and the next season more. And it was just a good get together. Liam being back, getting to know Sam and Gavin more. It was overall a good episode. I do really enjoy this one. It didn't have like the other professors like David and stuff until later on, till like the next episode. But it did what it needed to do. So 8 out of 10. And then episode 23, the 100th episode, and it's season 5, episode 23, The Black Flame Rises, part 2. This was also the finale of season 5. And it says the 100th episode is here. Ben and David arrive, and the gang decides to cause them trouble one last time. And this one just has all the professors in it. I mean, minus Casey, but it has all of the fan favorite characters that you need. Setting up for Professor season 6, because they had gotten word that they were going to do another season, and at the end when we see Kal-El, which wasn't in the other episode, or Ryan or Austin, it gets you ready for Professor season 6. So this episode was really good. I really do enjoy it. I think the Liam leaving was also good. All the professors just departing, and it felt like a warm goodbye. It didn't feel like anything was forced or rushed. So I do really enjoy this episode. 10 out of 10. This season was really good, especially like getting all the professors together. It felt like they were actually a team and not just groups smashed together. This one was season 5 was actually a really good season, a big step up from season 4. Season 6 was a much darker season, reduced episodes. I believe some stuff happened, so it was originally supposed to be 22 or 23 episodes, and then it got told that it was going to be their final season, but obviously we know it wasn't. And they did so much promo saying that it was, and it wasn't. It was just overall a really weird thing, and obviously season 7 had even lesser episodes. But yeah, let's start it off. Episode 1, Welcome to the Brawlverse. This just introduces the concept of the Brawlverse in whole. It starts off with 2 weeks ago, everybody departing. It has all the things that you needed to do. And it really takes you through the, Kal-El, Austin, and Ryan stuff. It doesn't feel forced, and it feels like a good start of the episode. It says, after defeating the negative force once and for all, the 6th season of The Professor picks up 2 weeks later following the end. Obed, Liam, Keegan, and Austin are reconnecting and grow closer than before. But when the multiverse erupts, a new universe tries to take balance. The new timeline with Austin, Kal-El, Hannon, Ryan, and Gavin, and Obed must once again defy impossible odds. After the Brawlverse is fixed, a deadly new adversary rises to the challenge to legacy. Liam and Austin retaliate their return and create a more darker force and the return of an old foe. Caleb becomes a mentor for the newbie, only to accidentally restart reality. And this one was a good start of an episode. Good start of a season too. I do wish that there were more professors, but it gets what Professor Season 5 ended with, and it gets you the next episode, just a little bit of a taste. So I will give this a 7 out of 10. Good episode. The next episode, Professor Season 6, Episode 2, The Vanishing Part 1. This one was weird, especially having a 2-parter so early in the season. And I know that there's another 2-parter, and then there's a 5-parter. This season was like really weirdly. In the Brawlverse, Hannon, Gavin, Kal-El, Ryan, and Austin make themselves try to feel at home, but it's not the same. After assembling a team, plans don't go as they intended, leaving Austin missing. Austin does go missing in this episode. This episode was very dark, and it really gets you into Gavin's character more, seeing as he's a professor now. We don't see Sam for a while. I know he comes in a different episode, but this one was it was a good episode, especially with it being a two-parter so early in the season. Micah's back. He was in, I think, the Dark Force, and he was in UT Tyler Trinity. So it's always good to have him back. Um, and it did feel like the dark side ish, was Austin going missing. So 8 out of 10. Actually, not 8 out of 10. 7 out of 10. The next episode, The Vanishing Part 2. When Austin is missing, Hannon, Kellel, and Obed go looking for him. But when they get him back, he does something hysterical. Once again, another dark episode. It feel like this should have been lighter. I do know that it felt more like a party episode than a part 2 episode, if that makes sense. But this episode was fun and joyous to watch. I did like it, so 6 out of 10. Now the redacted episode of the Professors. It was really weird when seeing this episode for the first time was something. So this is episode 4, called Dear Miliatsu, and it is a Kal-El centric episode. With the intro doing the weird glitchy stuff, and it really gets you started. It's Miliatsu's return. Him, Hannon, Brendan team up to cause trouble that will haunt them in the near future. Hannon does something that can lead them into oblivion. And it's them doing bad stuff and playing with fire. Miliatsuk is a good character. We always like him playing Kal-El. And it was overall a fun episode, especially with the fire stuff. I know that did take up a good chunk of the episode. This episode did have to be unlisted. You can still watch it. And it was good seeing Hannah and Kal-El and Brendan all be a team. And it was a fun episode. 6 out of 10. This next episode 5, The Illusion. Hannon feels guilty what happened to Obed and Kal-El. The beginning of the end starts. This really gets you started with the end of the Professors, like you know it's coming. And it's basically just going through with Hannon, and them at a party and stuff like that. This does lack a lot of Professors. I know Sam is in it. What's it called? Kel's in it ish. And it didn't feel like a Professor episode, if that makes sense. It got you introduced with Sushi more. Had Liam, had Sam. It was a weird episode. 5 out of 10. Next episode, Rogues of War, Part 1. This is episode 6. Sam returns in the weirdest way. Cal gathers a group for better and for worse. This one has Keegan, has Sam, has the Professors all together again, and they're just doing stupid stuff again. And it creates this dynamic of the quote-unquote rogues. I think Ben was in this episode too, and Caleb, and it gets you ready for, part 2. It does everything it needs to do well. I do really enjoy this episode. 8 out of 10. This one was also a really good episode. Rogues of War Part 2, Episode 7. Obed is forced to make an impossible choice. With half the group missing, the Professors call upon a rogue squad: Sam, Caleb, Ben, Obed, and Keegan. Talk about the final season of the Professors. At the end, when they do talk about the Professors coming to a close soon, it was really heartfelt, and I do really enjoy this episode. And it felt like a really good two-parter. I really do enjoy this episode. Another 8 out of 10 episode. Episode 8, I believe. Yes. You Better Run. The first track meet is here, and the Professors want to get fast and faster, which is also the title of the graphic novel. Multiple characters from Speed Wars return. So it is really fun to see all these characters together again. Once again, this season really has like a darker theme to it. I know Gavin was barely in this episode. It focused more on Sam. It had Caleb, had Kal-El. Introduced you to the track Austin-ish. I know he was in Rogues of War. but he wasn't going to be a professor. Um, and it felt like a Speed Wars episode. Um, it was overall, it was good, but didn't do anything special. 7 out of 10. Next episode, The Speed of Thought, episode 9. Caleb gone. Obed tries to hang out with a new group when Caleb was gone. Cal is forced to do something impossible, and failure is not an option. When he makes a decision, it messes with everyone's head. Two old foes return. This one was good. Had Sebastian. I think he was in season 4 for a little bit. Sam's in this episode. Liam's in this episode. Really good. It was an episode. And there's, I don't know, it felt a little bit slow, even though it was a shorter episode. And it didn't do anything. It was good to watch, I guess. But it was mainly just not it. 6 out of 10. Episode 10 of The Brofessors was God of Speed. From the past, racing for the future. Caleb returns and Kal-El has some news for the group. An old friend returns, but it's not what Obed wants. This episode was good. It got you introduced with Austin, Sam being in the episode, just the group in general. And it wasn't anything. It was just Obed trying to become the God of Speed, and getting ready for that. So, I do enjoy it. The stuff with Kal-El was okay. So 7 out of 10. Episode 11, Don't Run. Closer than ever. Austin and Sam get closer than ever while Kal-El is dreading. Cal is dreading his replacement. When given the chance to return, he retaliates. And Obed meets someone he thinks will be his future. So this one was a really funny episode with the Sam and Austin stuff, especially them getting married and their quote unquote divorce. The stuff with Kal-El and Obed it wasn't anything special that you're going to be missing out on. And the cinematography was really good on this episode. I really did enjoy it. Especially with it being 17 minutes long. Longer episode, you would think that it would be slower. But no, it was really fun to watch. 8 out of 10. And the mid-season finale, episode 12, The Final Run, amends with the past. District's here, and everyone wants to get fast and faster. With Cal sidelined, he becomes more negative. Hannon's new life affects Liam and Austin in bigger ways than he thought. Obed tries to recreate the past with an old friend of the professor. So this is the Casey returning episode, who returns later on. Starting the episode off with side characters just wasn't it, but Hannon coming back was a good touch. Austin being in this episode was a good touch. It was a really good mid-season finale. And I like how they broke it up into 2 days. Sam being in the episode, Gavin being here, it was a good episode. I like how they got the side character stuff out of the way. But yeah, it was good. I like this episode. 8 out of 10. So now this is the final graphic novel of the season, episode 13, The Last of Us. Crossover. The professors live a life that's very similar and different than theirs. A glitch leads to unexpected time anomalies, creating a new world and them to become future strangers. I know that originally the 5-parter was supposed to be a new world, but they changed it to future strangers because, in the end, they were going to be future strangers. The group with Caleb, Ben, Kal-El, and Austin was really fun to watch. Hannah being in the episode, the time glitches, Ryan being in the episode, them reliving stuff like that we saw earlier in the season, and some new stuff that we hadn't seen yet. And it felt good, and it was a really good introduction to the Future Strangers quote-unquote universe and the storyline that would be coming up. I would say it's a really good mid-season premiere. I really do enjoy this episode for all that it did. Cinematography was great. 8 out of 10. Now, episode 14, Future Strangers Part 1, Relaxation and Vacation. A glitch leads to Kellogg, Austin, and Han to go back to their past to relax. But Ben is suddenly nowhere to be found, and someone takes his place. This episode was good. It felt like it should have been filler, and I know it was a part of the storyline, but it was good to see the professors just chilling out and not dealing with end of the world stuff and all the negative stuff like that. Ben being gone, and it was just overall a okay episode. 7 out of 10. Episode 15 was Future Strangers Part 2. As the glitch is fixed, Ben is still missing. Obed is alarmed by Ben's disappearance, and Hannah assures everything will be okay. Obed runs across many familiar faces. So this episode deals with the stuff from Part 1. Sam's in the episode, the Sam and Kellogg duo, stuff like that. We saw some stuff from As Reunions Go from Season 5. And this episode kind of felt like Season 5-ish. But the David and Keegan stuff really blew me away. And always loved that duo being together and stuff like that. So this episode really raised the bar. I will give this episode a 9 out of 10. I really am enjoying this Future Strangers storyline. And it's really good. Episode 16, Future Strangers Part 3, Timeline Changes. 1 week after the glitch is fixed, everyone slowly starts drifting away and seeing each other for a while. Professors start thinking about their future and leaving. Future strangers begin. So, after the glitch, it feels like the professors are being forced, and they don't exactly like that. I do like the stuff with Pharrell and Michael being in the intro and stuff like that. Starting off with the Hannon stuff. And it really feels like the professors are living all different lives. They're going their own separate ways. And, there's some shots of them, being together and stuff like that. But this episode really felt like it was a Hannon episode. And it kind of stopped the momentum of the other 2 episodes. But at the ending with the Cal and Britton stuff, gets you ready for the last 2 episodes. So this episode was okay. I would give it a solid 7. Episode 17, Future Strangers Part 4. Almost the end. Hannon throws his birthday party and gets everyone together again. Liam thinks about leaving the professors for good. And can you blame him? Can you blame him? This was a really fun episode. The party episode with everyone being together. Gavin and Liam. You just have everyone and celebrating Hannon. Really good episode. I do really enjoy the Liam stuff. And him walking away at the end was really good. It was really good. I really like this episode. 8 out of 10. And episode 18 of season 6, which is the finale, Future Strangers Part 5. All things must have an end. The group goes to Hannon's party to celebrate the high box. Obed searches for Liam, but he doesn't want to be found. Austin and Keegan go on a walk to reminisce of the past 5 years. This felt like it was it felt like a series finale, which technically it was, before it got rebooted. Just with all the stuff, the color, cinematography, Liam leaving, it was all good. The Austin stuff, them reminiscing, it was just all good. And even Pharrell being at the ending too. And it sets up season 7 in a very interesting way. And at the ending with the Liam, Caleb, and Hannon shot. And then it goes to the Professor's Secret 7. This was overall a really good episode. I'd give this episode a 9. I really do enjoy everything that was in this episode. Nothing felt too forced or rushed, even though technically the penultimate episode was a little bit longer than this one. But it felt like a series finale, and it was a good one, technically. So yeah, 9 out of 10. I really do enjoy The Professor Season 6. It was a darker season. And there was some parts that made it feel a little bit slow, but it wasn't anything, special. And then we have Professor Season 7 with 7 episodes. I know this season was supposed to have 13, but things got ended after stuff with the Shockers, stuff like that. But Professor Season 7, Episode 1, The Secret 7. Obed creates a new generation of professors, having the core 6 and a newbie. Getting ready for Professor Season X. Friends new and old say hello and goodbye to the past. Talks of what fate hasn't planned for the new group are discussed. And this was a really, really good episode. It felt like Sunpack. It felt like Sunpack, and it's like getting ready for Obed's birthday party and stuff like that. And the beginning stuff, I just like the stuff overall with Sam and Hannah, all of them. And them at the end talking about what fate has in store for them. It was just overall really good. I really do enjoy the professors being all together like this. And it felt like a good season premiere, considering the end, how season 6 was like so dark. It feels like a lighter season. I really do enjoy this. Cinematography was great. Everything about this episode was just good. So good 10 out of 10 episode. And then episode 2, Banish. The events of Secret 7 leads Hannon, Gavin, and Kellogg to go on vacation to get away while so much is happening. When they get back, things are where they're supposed to be and aren't the same. This one just follows, that group being together on vacation, stuff like that. It doesn't really show that much of any other professors. I do like the stuff with Gavin. He's very funny. And I know Britton was supposed to be more in this season, but he wasn't. And the cinematography was really good. However, it just... Actually, no, this episode was good. 8 out of 10. And then episode 3, Resurrection. After Hannon dies, Cal and Gavin try to revive him using a method that is risky. When they get back, he's not back to normal. Sam and Obed go for something different. So this one it feels like episode 2 again, just without the vacation part, because I know that they're back. Hannon dying was really fun to watch. The resurrection, all that was really fun. The thing with Sam, that was really fun. Hannon flying, the tubing. This feels like a really good start to the season, even though we are literally halfway through the season, or about to be halfway through the season. But it could have been a little bit better. So I am going a 7 out of 10. The season's feeling really light. Episode 4, Borrowing Problems from the Past. Back in 2022, when Kellogg and David first meet, Hannah has other plans that lead to the events of Worlds Collide. So this is a prequel to Worlds Collide. It shows the Sam stuff, and it gets ready for all the heat of summer that's coming up. But Kellogg and David meeting was fun. Micah being in this episode again. It feels like impulsive in a way, and it feels very season 4-y. The cinematography is much different than season 7 has been. This episode kind of feels out of place though, and it doesn't feel like it's setting up for anything. It just felt like a prequel just to be a prequel. So I am giving it a 6 out of 10. But I mean, it was a pretty good episode. And then episode 5, All the Heat of Summer. Hannon takes Gavin to an old place to recreate some memories. While hell is breaking loose, Sam, Ben, Kellogg, and Brody decide to cause some trouble of their own. This is the start of Brody really becoming a professor. This episode was really good. I really like the cinematography. I really like the Hannah and Gavin stuff. The intro was good. Ben being back was good. Everything about this episode was just like, it felt natural. It felt like episode 1 again. And I did really enjoy it. So I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. And then episode 6, Fate of Speed Part 1. Talks of what fate has in store with Hannah and Kellogg makes Oh, wait. Talks of what fate has in store with Hannah and Kellel. Liam makes a discovery and isn't too happy about it. So Liam is back in this episode later on. It did feel a little bit too much with the side characters and stuff like that. You know, but it was good. Gavin being in this episode, I think he was in. No, he wasn't in this episode. I'm sorry. um, but Liam being back for a little bit was good. Casey being back, I believe. Yeah. So this episode was a good start to the mid-season finale, or the actual finale. It's like the penultimate episode. It's really weird. Sushi being in this episode too, good. It feels like a season 7 episode. Feels light. Doesn't feel too heavy or too dark. I like it. So I would give that a 8 out of 10. Episode 7 of season 7 is Fate of Speed Part 2. This one doesn't really have a description, but I can't explain what happens. Gavin's in this episode, Liam's in this episode, and it follows through with exactly that, the fate of speed for all of the professors. I did like the stuff with Sam, Liam being back, of course, and it felt good. And then the stuff with, you know, the homecoming stuff, the parade, and then the ending with Kellel and Sam, that was good. I will say that this season wasn't exactly what it's supposed to be, and it did kind of was rushed. But I will give it a 8 out of 10 because it did do what it needed to do, and it fulfilled that in the way that it had to. But yeah. And then we are moving on. Actually, wait, hold on. Season 7 was actually really good. I did like it a lot. Very light. Cinematography was good. It felt like this show had rebranded itself. But yeah. Professor Season X is still technically ongoing. But yeah. So the first episode of Season X is The Core. And this was talked about in the last season. Introduces Brody. And it just feels really good. It says, welcome back. The professors go on various trips and adventures, gathering a new, brand new professor, Brody. Obed gathers what he thinks is the core to reviving the professors for Season X. This episode was really good. And it, once again, feels like Sunpack. It feels like Sunpack. It feels like the Secret Seven. I really do like the cinematography in this episode. Introducing Nate into the professors, which he will be a future professor. And it just overall feels like a good start to the season. Even though the season hasn't been, that much. So I will give that a 9 out of 10. Episode 2 was A Boy Named Sam. It says Sam and Obed go on an adventure. This episode obviously lacked everything to do with the professors in general. It was a Obed and Sam episode. More character development for Sam. And it was good. Not anything too special. But yeah. I will give this a 7 out of 10. And then we have episode 3, What's the Move? This one also doesn't have a description, but this one, I believe, is Kell's birthday party. And it's just the professors being together in general, trying to figure out what their next move is. I did like seeing all the professors back together, and stuff like that. I like Caleb in this episode, Ben was in this episode, Britton, Sushi was in this episode, even though he's not a professor. Gavin in the episode. It was just overall a good episode. I don't know what to say. Even Dresden, back from season 6, the season finale from back then, was in this episode. And it just felt really good. Season X it doesn't feel like, I don't know what this season feels like. It feels like it's missing something, and it doesn't know how to do it. And then this is the current episode 4, otherwise entitled, Hey Hannon. The boys celebrate Hannon's birthday. and cinematography is really good. It feels like a season 7 episode. I did like, Hannon being not Hannon being back, Gavin being back. Gavin, Sam, Nate, Keegan, like all of them. It was just it feels like 8 episodes, but it's not doing anything special. So 6 or 7 out of 10. Um, and yeah, that is the current Professors from season 4 all the way to season X. That is my recap. So from season 4, 5, 6, 7, and X, my favorite season has to be season 7. Just because it is so much like better, it feels more mature. Season 5 is also a good runner up. I did enjoy season 6. Season 4 was not good, and season X is missing something. So if I had to rank them, it would be season 7, 5, 6, X, and 4. And then we'll do the other seasons some other time because they are not exactly professors. It's different. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I know it's been a long episode, not long episode, long video. I appreciate it for listening, and have a good day.